sailboat in the moonlight and June. Wouldn't that be heaven? Oh, heaven just for two. A soft breeze on a June night and June. What a perfect setting for letting dreams come true.
Well, here in Canada, we're still struggling with COVID, as many of you are. They've shut down the province and we're not able to go out sailing or to launch our boats, so I'm back to some projects in the backyard. As many of you know, this year we grabbed an old boom and we're rebuilding it in order to create a new boom for Windover. I decided today to take that project on, and just as I dug into it, well, the skies opened up and chased me out of there. We do have a little meeting tonight going on with the Yacht Club where I'm going to be making a presentation, so I thought just to have a video to present to you this week, I would share that with you. So why don't you come in and join us?
So this is our second in our series of virtual presentations, and it's really my pleasure to introduce to you Chris Vera. I've known Chris for quite a few years. He's owned and refitted a number of boats, and so many of us know Chris from different boats that he's owned around the Quinte area, and I know you're going to enjoy Chris presenting on this. I love the title, From Sow's Ear to Silk Purse, refitting his Bristol 41. So if you wouldn't mind muting yourselves, I'll turn it over to Chris.
Thank you, Martin. So thank you again for inviting me to take part in this, and we're really glad we could join you. I want to tell you a story that is a bit of an adventure. Debbie and I left in 2018 to go south to the Bahamas, and it became apparent rather quickly that our boat was going to be a little bit too small for us, and we began hunting in Oswego, New York. And then we went through the Erie Canal system, of course, and through New York City and along the eastern seaboard, and we hunted in every marina we came in contact with for boats that were for sale, boats that were in the backyard, much the same way as we would hunt for a boat here in Canada. While we did that trip, we kind of got a bit of an education. The further south we went, the worse condition the boats were in. And as we got down to the Bahamas, we realized that we probably were not going to find anything below the Carolinas that would be suitable for us. Everything seemed to be quite salt damaged and quite sun damaged. And so on our return again, which would have been 2019, we began making phone calls to brokers ahead of our trip, and we began stopping in at marinas and looking at boats. And one boat that really appealed to us was a Bristol, and it was actually a 43-footer, not a 41. And we were keeping an eye on that for months and months and months, and just as we approached Annapolis, where the boat was kept, we called the broker and we said, okay, we're just around the corner, we're about to get there, and we said, I'm sorry, we've got a contract on that boat. And so quite disappointed, and he let us know that he had another one coming up and it would be available by the time we got to Annapolis. So when we arrived, we phoned him, and he informed us that that too had gone under contract, and we weren't able to see it. So we asked him if we could just go in the yard and have a look at it at least, and we could see if it would be a boat that we would consider. That one, of course, was already sold. As we were just about in Rock Hall, where the boat was stored, the broker informed us that the contract had been canceled and the boat was available. And so I'm going to play you a little video, and this is what we found when we got to Rock Hall, Maryland, to the marina where this boat was languishing in the back corner.
Eight, five.
What do you all have now? Oh yeah. Okay. My personal boat's 5836. A classic problem with Bristol's generic. What this guy does, and the reason that these brushes are sitting out of here.
You look awfully comfortable there.
I'm sitting in my new boat.
You are? You want to make the announcement, or is that the way we're going to drop the bomb?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
We just bought a
41.1 Bristol center cockpit, and it needs some TLC,
but it's beautiful.
but we're really excited.
Yes. We're here in Rock Hall, Maryland with Dan Bako. Dan, you're from what company?
Martin Bird and Associates out of Annapolis.
Martin Bird and Associates, great brokerage house. And, well, Dan just sold us a boat. And there she is, our new home. Some of the things we learned as we were traveling is that we wanted several things in a boat, and one thing we definitely wanted to get was something with some weight to it. I'm susceptible to motion sickness, and in really bad seas, I become fairly useless. So we needed to get something that was going to have some weight, and this boat certainly has that. Also a center cockpit, it provides a platform that's got a little bit less movement, and this boat of course has a full keel as well, so it tracks very nicely and behaves well in big seas. So it was the kind of boat we were looking for, and so we began we purchased it right away, and we began a refit that would take us about 19 days to get her, and a very minor refit, to get her fit enough that we could take her down the eastern seaboard and back to Canada again. In between there, I should add that we actually had made arrangements to truck her from Maryland to Belleville, and we had the trucker arranged. We had the marina set up to pull the mast and to wrap it and get it ready on the truck, and we had actually taken off, and we were in front of Atlantic City, which is about 4 days travel, when one of our subscribers from a YouTube channel that we do called us and asked if our boat was still for sale. That's our Aloha 32, and we said yes it is, and he said well, what's your best price, and he took it right then and there. So we went back to Rock Hall to refit the boat so we could have some transportation home and to save on the shipping costs. So we had been looking for a few other designs, and among them were Passport 40s, Valiant 40s, those sorts of boats. That's the kind of thing we were looking for, because we wanted something that was very capable, mostly for the Great Lakes, but eventually we'd like to go back out to the East Coast again. That brings her home, I guess. We went back up the Erie Canal, and I think the Katie Gray was just starting. We sailed through the fleet as the Katie Gray was starting that year in 2019, and we arrived home then. We began immediately on the refit, so I want to talk about some of the things we did to prepare her. All the way home, we made decisions about colors, about all the different projects that we wanted to do on her, and among them were a new suit of sails. The lifelines were done All of the chrome was really badly affected by the salt, and so we wanted to polish all of that. The mast needed a lot of work, and the wood obviously needed a lot of work. The wood was just black and moldy. All of our running rigging needed to be replaced. So we sort of had a list prepared before we got home, and that list was sort of in the order that they needed to occur. So if you are doing a refit, being organized in that fashion is very, very important. It's kind of like eating an elephant, and if you don't organize yourself, as many of you have probably experienced, in a big job like a sailboat refit, you can go off the rails fairly quickly, removing parts and moving things to different locations. So we were very, very disciplined in the way we approached it. Things that needed to be ordered in advance, like sails and these sorts of things that we knew would take some time, of course we had to get them all done up front. So we made a lot of preparations right from the beginning as to what sorts of things we wanted, and we arranged for the other trades to get them ready. Basically, we were trying to do it on a budget, so all the work other than the manufacture of sails and things like that was done by me. Debbie also did a lot of the any of the sewing work that we did this year. She did as well. That's sort of her forte, and she kind of takes care of the boat after we get it all ready to sail. Once the boat was on the hard, right away in the winter months began the process of bringing her back to her former glory. So here's a little clip of some of the things that went on that winter and right into the following summer, which would be the summer of 2020. Here we go. Brings us back now to the refit work, and actually what work we did. Now most of this I really don't have to go over. I mean, doing bright work over and that sort of stuff, all of you are as well versed in that as I am. The one thing we did that was pretty technical and a lot of you would never get to experience here is the painting. And I wanted to talk a little bit about painting your boat. Usually in freshwater, boats are not painted as often as they are in saltwater, but if your boats come from the salt, or if it's quite aged, you might want to consider painting it. I generally don't like boats that have been painted, and certainly I'm not big on painted decks. I find they're difficult to maintain, and this boat was the only one we could find that, and it had a painted hull right from the very start. And I believe that when this window over this boat was actually painted in the factory, just because of the kind of finishes I was finding underneath the paint that was there. And I suspect that this boat may be one that may have been damaged at the factory, or something might have happened that, or the owner wanted a different color. that the boat ended up getting painted very early in its life. There was only ever one coat of paint on it. It was quite a bit lighter blue than the dark blue that we put on it. We worked with Epiphanis, which is a Dutch company, and I'm of Dutch heritage, so I really appreciated the product. Epiphanis is quite an old company. They're mostly focused on varnish, but they've got an excellent paint system that you can apply yourself very, very easily. So if you are considering painting your boat, Epiphanis is a good company to consider, and frankly, just about any company making paint nowadays is going to provide you with high quality goods, and will have a good teaching online, so you can actually paint your boat yourself if you're handy at all. The process with the Epiphanis, and one of the reasons we like the Epiphanis, is that it did not need to be tipped, and the manufacturer told us that from the start, that it did not need to be tipped, and that we could just roll it on and it would lay down beautifully. I have to say that our first experience, and Martin was there, our first experience laying it down, it did not lay down as they said it would, and we did need to tip it. And so the second time around I bought some brushes, I sanded it down, and we went at it again. And the second time it did not lay down the way we thought it would. And we only discovered after the second round that the manufacturer and the retailer, and frankly I, had missed the fact that we had the wrong thinners. And when we placed the order, somebody in the warehouse had put the wrong thinners in the kit, and we had the wrong thinners there. So because it was two-part paint, it required a special thinner to cut the paint, and they gave us 1 part thinner. So the third time round was the charm, and we did do it with just little 4-inch closed cell rollers. They're not the rollers you buy at the dollar store. They're special rollers. They're quite a bit more money, but they're closed cell, and so they don't dissolve in the very, very strong chemicals that exist in this paint system. We started on the sunny side of the boat, so just as the sun was starting to rise, we worked our way around the boat, and it laid down just beautifully. And it was about an hour and a half, something like that, into that, and we had a finish that would rival, many $10,000 paint jobs. So if you are considering painting your boat, that's a great system. There's lots of information online, and the Epiphanis 2-part behaved very, very well for us. If I were to leave one thing with you that, as far as refitting a boat goes, that would be most important in my mind. Now we've refit 9 or 10, I can't remember how many now, but we've done some pretty extensive refits on some pretty cool boats. And if I were to say if there was one thing you could do to make that experience a good one, it's start with a good boat. We see so many people buying a bare hull and or something that needs to be gutted, and putting it in the backyard and spending years and years and years refitting it. And I don't begrudge you that. I mean, if that's something you want to do, but I think more often than not, people are overly optimistic about how long it's going to take. So I think refitting a boat starts with what kind of boat do you have. If she's got good bones, if she's got gel coat on the outside still, that makes life even easier. If the interior is relatively undamaged and relatively original, I'd say your boat would be a great prospect for refitting. And yeah, that's the most important thing. The second most important thing would be organization, and I'd have to say I've seen more projects go off the rails because of a lack of organization than anything else. So it's a good idea if you're going to do a refit to Write down what your goals are. Where do you want to see your boat after this refit is completed? What sub-trades do you need to accomplish the job you have? So know your own skill sets. What materials you're going to need to accomplish that job, and in what order are you going to need those materials and need those tradesmen. And if you can lay it out in that fashion and not try to rush through it, but do it in such a way that you'll end up with a product that you can appreciate, then I think the whole job will be a success and a good experience. I would be very, very careful of boats that need a lot of interior work. Interior work is probably the most difficult work to do, and fortunately this boat was in very, very good condition inside. She hadn't seen any water on the floors or anything like that, so she was kind of a time capsule inside, but the outside was quite decrepit. Also engines, I gotta say too, if you are a boat owner now, or if you're looking at purchasing a boat or refitting a boat, we've always looked at engines as being kind of a secondary thing. And I'd have to say in most situations, the engines in a sailboat get very, very little use. Even one that's done significant amounts of cruising, it's surprising how easy it is to bring most engines up to a point where they're reliable again. So things like injection pumps and injectors on diesels, carburetor rebuilds, and fuel system refits can often bring an old motor back to life again. So whenever we've looked at the refit of a boat, we've kind of left the engines till last, and we've been very, very fortunate with as far as engines go. Fiberglass is very resilient, and if you've got an old boat, I see no, if it's a fiberglass boat, I see no reason why you can't bring it up to look brand new again. And that's about all I have to say about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Are you going to share your screen now, or are you going to do that after?
Yes, can you see my screen right now?
No.
Talk to me.